Dungeon Meshi Episode 13 adapts chapters 29 and 30 and was directed and storyboarded by Kodai Nakano of episodes 3 and 7 fame, which were two of my favorites. And while I do have a few gripes with it, which we'll get into, its simplicity shifts the attention onto the creative framing choices that enhance its emotional resonance. So let's break down the animation and storytelling and see what subtle changes have been made from the source material. Right off the bat, I would have loved to have seen a shot of Senshi wrapping this twine tightly around the dragon hams here, especially with the lack of cooking in the rest of the episode. This is a smart choice to reframe these shots. We've changed the scene transition to a match cut between Falin's and Laios' faces, which emphasizes the connection between the two while also making the transition smoother to follow with your eyes. On a printed page, it doesn't matter as much if the composition of these two panels had been the same, because your eye has to travel from one page to the next regardless. But the cut is the most foundational storytelling tool in film and TV, so these close-ups on the siblings' faces become much more important. They've added this additional exterior shot, which makes the height of the window much more clear than this panel looking over Laios' shoulder. I didn't mention it last time, but Kensuke was acting particularly skittish around Falin and jumped out of her hands, which is not a great sign. Plus, when she was first resurrected, Falin looked up at Laios with her left eye closed and one hand on her neck, the two places where the dragon had been injured. In this shot, the left eye is the only one visible, with the right shrouded in shadow. But as she gets more distressed and eventually lashes out at Laios, that left eye closes again. In the manga panel, there even seems to be some blood in this tear. Marcille's magic seems to have merged her mind with the dragon, and she's struggling internally between these two identities, with one eye representing each side of that dichotomy in this scene. We finally get to find out who that angry little elf in the paintings was, and as the eyes of the Mad Mage, or lunatic magician, take your pick, transform, the shadow that was cast on his irises from his brow disappear and reform into this dark ring around the outside, which gives this strange physics-defying appearance like they're protruding outward from within his eyeballs and are unaffected by the lighting of the scene. This cut is a collaboration with layout by Akihiro Sato and cleanup by Ikumi Goto, and it shows some great detail in Marcille's face. These notes specify to the compositing team that her right arm and sleeve should be blurred a medium amount, and the staff, Ambrosia, should be blurred a lot, creating this realistic depth of field effect. I like this subtle added moment of silence before Chilchuck rushes to Laios' side. It gives the impression that Chilchuck and Senshi don't understand what's happening, so it takes them a second to react.
Okay.
¿Tiene un libro?
Tengo un muy mal presentimiento.
It's the Star Wars episode. It's impact frame galore here as Marcille dispels the blood wyvern thingies with her own ancient magic, starting with these three simple frames of this starburst effect, and one pure black frame, each on screen for 1/24th of a second. And I love how they chose to show the physical impact and how, as the ancient runes take effect, the creature dissolves back into liquid and allows the staff to pass through with less resistance. It's certainly clear in the manga that she's smashing them out of the sky using her staff like a baseball bat, but this shot brings an extra sense of brutality to it that's consistent with Marcille's brash and physical way of doing magic. In this cut, presumably by Yugen_RB based on this sketch they posted on Twitter, each impact has two impact frames in which the shapes get more detailed the closer to the camera they get, and this last one starts to actually resemble the shape of the wyvern's head. This is a cool smear frame. The jagged lines angle downward on the left side of Marcille's head and upward on the right, indicating that her head is rotating. As always, this show loves to go straight from eldritch horror to comedy with no warning, and the way that the label stays pinned to the meat even as it sinks down into the blood really enhances the comedy here. I'm not sure these ghosts are on the same page with the Mad Mage. They even seem to be trying to stand in his way as he walks toward Falin. This haunting, almost entirely monochromatic shot is easily the best one in the whole episode, and Nakano uses a simple change in framing to actually show more of the body horror in this scene than is shown in the manga, while maintaining a sense of mystery with this silhouette effect. And framing it all underneath the melting bones of the dragon brings the whole scene together. The characters are almost the same dark value as the dragon bones in the background, so check out how they use the lighter tones of the smoke and haze to separate the two layers, and create that sharp, striking contrast that makes this cut stand out as the most important moment of the episode. episode. It's as if the Mad Mage is living in a different show than the one that we've been watching this whole time. I love the way the shadows move across the characters' bodies as the light source floats upward in this shot, and I'm glad to see Laios is being well taken care of after his concussion. It's the Star Wars episode. I love Chilchuck's scream when the orcs find him. And Laios gets the Kai Ikarashi version of his face for a second here, which is really weird to see outside of an action scene. Maybe he's dreaming about some sort of crazy high-octane chase scene or something, and that's why he looks like this. In the manga, Chilchuck, from outside this panel, thinks to himself that the reason the orcs don't recognize Senshi's scent is because he finally took a bath during the cooking montage last episode. If you haven't read the books, did you catch that? The meal is complete theme over whatever the hell this mush is great, but again, the ingredients list in the manga is hilarious. Of course, Marcille doesn't even get the mercy of being unconscious for this, and this added point of view shot really seals the deal for this scene. There isn't a whole lot of animation-specific stuff to discuss in the second half of the episode, but it's really nice to get a more Chilchuck-centric character exploration. I like this jittery, frantic jumble of frames of Chilchuck's panicked emotional reaction in this simple frame shuffling style that's usually been reserved for Marcille and Laios so far. It's extra simple in that instead of doing the mouth movements separately, these handful of frames couple together the mouth and hand movements, so each mouth position matches a certain hand position and the two move in tandem. Same with this cut. Okay, there's a straight up mistranslation here. In the English version, Chilchuck says,
"Or tell them she was satisfied after eating the dragon meat."
In Japanese, he technically doesn't specify who he's referring to, and it's possible that the confusion came from the rearranging of these two sentences so that the one about Falin heading for the surface, in which he does directly say her name, comes before this one instead of after, but it's clear from context that he's actually saying to tell them that you, as in Senshi, are satisfied after eating the dragon meat, because eating a red dragon was Senshi's stated goal at the start and the whole reason that he joined the party in the first place. This scene puts more focus on Lead as she listens to the conversation and becomes more and more displeased listening to Chilchuck's ostensible cowardice, and it's clear that she's actually more thoughtful and principled than first impressions may have indicated. There's an added establishing shot here which clarifies the geography of this scene where Lead leads Chilchuck back to the scene of the previous battle. Though if they fell through the floor and then fell even further through that chute, how are they on the same level if not slightly above where they started? With each passing episode, it becomes clear that this dungeon is of course a physical space, but equally an extension of the mage's mind and desires. This is a fun impressionistic use of line quality in this cut, which is also a collaboration, this time between Asami Shimizu and Hiroki Arai, though the delineation of roles isn't specified for this one. Before the ghost passes through him, he's on model with lots of smooth curves. Afterwards, though, not only do the lines boil, that's this effect where it alternates between two slightly different retraced versions of the same drawing, but they've also gotten much more straight and jagged, and his hair loses all curve to its shapes. Chilchuck said early on that he only considers the other members of his party to be business associates and nothing more. But whether that was true or not at the time, it certainly isn't anymore. He has his guard up and is hiding behind this fabricated version of himself that's just frustrated at his friends for being stupid. But it turns out Lead is a great listener and very perceptive, and that's all he needed to let go of this emotional defense mechanism and realize that the emotion he's feeling isn't anger, it's fear. Fear that his friends, who despite his best efforts he's grown emotionally attached to, will get hurt. He doesn't even seem to realize that he wasn't being honest until she points it out to him. I love this added shot of the wargs. Not only are they super cute, it's as if they can see through Chilchuck's act here too. All these added shots of people and dog monsters watching as Chilchuck paces around working through his feelings out loud distance you as the viewer a bit from his train of thought and allow you to see it more objectively from the outside in the same way that Lead and seemingly the wargs do. And finally, one more weird translation which is less straightforwardly wrong, so I wouldn't have mentioned it, but it's actually thematically important to this section. In English, Chilchuck says,
"3 people are in danger here."
which doesn't totally make sense because there are 4 of them. Originally, he phrases it from more of a personal perspective. I have 3 people to worry about, which caps off his little mini arc here in that he's realized that what he's worried about isn't self-preservation, but actually the lives of his 3 friends. And it's his honesty that gets through to Laios. Senshi is proud of his son for that emotional growth. Pretty soon it'll be time to teach him about the birds and the bees. That's not a joke. We're finally in the real shit now, and as the mysteries of the dungeon begin to unravel, they reveal even more questions. These bastards just cannot catch a break. If you liked this video, don't forget to tell the all-seeing, all-knowing algorithm by hitting the like button. And it's been announced that we're continuing on to Core 2 with no break, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for the continuation.